Hi everyone, this is Casey. I'm with Corporate Country Girl. We are a not-for-profit organization that focuses on creating YouTube videos for the use of educational purposes for anybody who has the internet. So I know one big hurdle that people have is they don't have the time or the money or the drive to go to school. They don't they don't want to do a whole school, but maybe they just want to learn about one thing or a couple of things. That's where Corporate Country Girl comes in. I am in the process of recording a whole bunch of videos. They are following me along the process of creating a homestead, as well as teaching in-depth how-to videos for specific things that come along the way. So far I did a how-to video on how to change out a weed whacker blade, and other general maintenance, home maintenance processes, as well as how to cook different recipes. And in the future we plan on going more in depth on how to navigate the corporate world, starting a business, and all those legal hoops that you have to jump to do that. So this slide just covers a brief outline of what we're going to discuss in this PowerPoint. We're going to talk about our purpose, our mission, a couple potential legal issues that could come about with this type of business. We're going to focus on one area of concern in particular, have a brief summary, and a list of resources that have been so much help in my research. So as I previously stated, Corporate Country Girl's purpose is to create educational videos available to anyone on the internet. These are going to be both kind of just following me around on the homestead and around the house, as well as in-depth how-to videos on particular things that I do. Some of those different subjects include agriculture, home maintenance, cooking, starting a business, navigating the corporate world, and other basics that just don't get taught anymore in your standard K through 12 local schools. I know there are some specialty schools available, but those typically either cost money or aren't available to everybody. So this is a great fill gap for anybody who doesn't qualify for those. So the whole idea here is we're going to provide additional training resources for people, tomorrow's leaders, on today's media platforms. Similarly to our purpose, our mission statement actually states that Corporate Country Girl is a nonprofit organization created to teach the basic skills that are not covered by most traditional K through 12 public schools. We are aiming to provide the community with the knowledge to be more self-sufficient and well-rounded without the financial or time commitments of traditional schools. With all of our training and learning this quarter, we narrowed down the potential legal issues I have 8 categories here: ethics and social responsibilities, constitutional law, negligence tort, contract law, sales in the UCC, agency, environmental law, and intellectual law. In just a moment, and we will break down a little bit more detail of each of what can happen in each of those categories when discussing this type of business. So first off, with ethics and corporate social responsibility, the basic platform and our location for a lot of our videos is actually going to be a working homestead. So in that, some of our videos will include the procurement, the feed, the taking care of all different animals, and information as we go through that whole process. And unfortunately, that process does end with the processing or the harvesting and processing of that livestock. It's part of a working homestead, and it is educational. Great thing with the internet, you can choose what you want to watch, what you don't want to watch. So if you do not feel like that's something you want to watch, that is totally something you can just skip that one. But this could potentially have an ethical issue. Some people may not agree with it, which also goes into the constitutional law, where people, again, might not agree with it, but it is a constitutional law that I can have free speech and show what I want in a way that I believe I would be done respectfully. I haven't done one of those videos yet, but I would take in consideration how people don't want to see all the guts, but it is a part of life, and that is something that should be taught when talking about the whole homestead beginning to end. Negligence tort is one that I was actually very concerned about when I was starting the nonprofit organization. I always just thought, well, what if somebody follows what I do and ends up getting hurt? Like, what happens? I didn't know. So that's one thing, one area that I really wanted to concentrate on and dig deeper into, and that is my area of concern for this project. Because I wanted to know what would happen if somebody got sick or injured from following my instructions. And also contract law, we're going to need stuff for our homestead. It may be animal feed that we could work with a contract with a supplier to maybe buy a certain amount and get some free as a donation, or get a special rate because it's a nonprofit. You just have to work out with the supplier, but that would be a contract and has open to a breach of contract, and that could be an issue. Moving on to our second set of categories here, we have sales in the UCC. So in the process of raising these animals and showing how to make different products, when we don't want byproducts to go to waste, we're going to have to use them for something, and that's a great way to produce revenue for a nonprofit company. So a lot of the milk, eggs, cheese, wherever you can do, can both be used as an educational video and can also be sold as revenue for the company. So, but all of those do have to deal with sales, and that's where the UCC comes in. Next, we have agency. So all of the board members, volunteers, and we don't have any paid employees yet, but hopefully we'll get to there. But all of them, anybody who is associated with the business is an agent. And they all do have agency, and if they act poorly, they can reflect poorly on the company, which we definitely don't want. As for environmental law, one big thing that I came to mind was where we're doing these projects, whether it's here at my house where the home base is, or if we go out on site somewhere else, you're going to probably want to check into the environmental laws or zoning laws in general, just to see if there's any laws or anything that you should be aware of. You don't want to start digging in the middle of a wetland or disrupting a species that you didn't even know existed there. So definitely check all the laws, and especially your environmental ones. That's a very important subject and a very important part of our world. We have to protect it. As far as intellectual law, you definitely, if you create your brand, your logo, any type of marketing materials that you create, you're going to want to keep those for yourself. You don't want everybody and their brother using them and potentially ruining your good name if they get used wrong. And the same thing, you don't want to use somebody else's material, and I don't say you would use it wrong, but you should, against the law, to use their material without their permission. So just don't do that. So the last two sections, we have sustainability. Part of the videos will revolve around the procurement, care, harvesting, and processing of livestock and plants. We'll have live animals and a garden. So like I was mentioned before with the UCC, we are planning on using those products as a source of revenue for the company. So that will keep the company, bring money back in order to be reinvested for more animals or equipment needed. Maybe we're going to decide we're going to show a video on tying knots. So maybe we can use some of that revenue to buy rope or something similar. Wherever we decide that the next video is going to be, we might need supplies for that. And this is a great way to come up with the revenue without having to ask for donations. Also, likewise, we might run out of ideas. So an important aspect of being sustainable is having a continuous idea load. So we're also going to have a spot for our viewers to offer ideas. What did they want to learn about? Well, that's a great idea. So that's definitely going to be in the course of our offerings. Lastly, COVID-19 has affected everybody. In particular, I have seen, well, we've all seen the toilet paper shortages, but that's not everything. We have seen, I think there's some grain shortages, and just overall there's shortages everywhere. Whether or not it's directly at one particular component, maybe we have to get a component from a different country in order to fix a machine. So if your tractor is down and that particular repair part maybe comes from China, and it takes 6-7+ weeks to get across the ocean and through the port, that's time down, and that can cause a delay. So there's all sorts of different supply chain issues having to do with COVID-19. That is one of the most significant effects to this type of business, and right now it's pretty much just here at my house, so there's not a whole lot of social interaction, period. So that is the biggest concern right now for this business. So as mentioned previously, the area of concern for this project is negligence tort. And we're going to go into further detail as to what all negligence tort is, why it's concerning for this particular type of business, and how we plan to resolve that. So first off, why is negligence tort a concern? As I alluded to before, if somebody is to follow my instructions and get hurt, that could be an issue. Typically, if I did something and somebody was hurt in the process of that, they could sue me for negligence. Being as this is a online video, it does have, it's a little different than normal. Since I'm not physically there with them, it has a different meaning to it. But the plaintiff would still have to prove the 5 elements, which include duty of care, breach, factual clause, proximate clause, and damages. And at this time, I don't have any special certificates saying that I am certified to teach on any of the subjects that I am showing about. So we did add a clause, and we'll go into that a little bit further. All right, so duty of due care. Everybody has duty of due care for those around them. You're expected to act in a reasonable matter. And if you happen to act unreasonably and somebody is hurt in that process, that is when the negligence tort can come in. For say an example I've seen in the book, where if a car mechanic doesn't fix the brakes properly, he knows that those brakes aren't fixed properly, but yet he still lets the owner take the car. If that person gets in a car wreck, that is negligence tort. So it is a little bit different with the online platform. I can't physically do anything to these people or to my viewers. I can just suggest that they do something, and they have the ability to either do it or not. I did recognize that, or I was looking in my research, that I do have a duty of due care to fully research a topic prior to submitting a video about it, and that all information should be correct to my knowledge. And if for any reason we find out that it's not correct for any reason, then I would have the obligation to either redact that video or add a comment saying, hey, we figured this out, or follow it up with a secondary video, which probably not the best idea, but I think taking down the original and resubmitting a new one saying, hey, this is what happened, probably be better rather than having that old one with the bad information out there. Probably just get rid of that one. So one way we can overcome the potential of a litigation for the negligence tort is to have a disclaimer. YouTube does have a great section for a description for videos, and it's quite large. So you can put your description up at the top. You can put any applicable links for that particular video. Maybe you're talking about a certain product and you want to link their product website to there, or you see something that somebody might really like and you want to show them where on Amazon they can buy it, so on and so forth. But underneath all of that, you want to start with your nice stuff, and then we have a generic just information that has all of our different accounts, so Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, a brief description of our history, who we are, including our mission statement, and then down at the bottom, it's very clear, is the disclaimer saying that we are not certified in the topics that are being discussed. This should be very clear to anybody who is looking for it or looking and sees it, and should release the question of whether or not we were at cause, or if we were if they had a misconception that we were giving medical advice but we're not a doctor. So that should help definitely with any type of tort litigation. So now that we've covered what duty is, if you were to break it, that would be a breach of duty. So in a breach of duty is if I failed to warn viewers of a foreseeable injury, even if I didn't get hurt in the process, they could. And if I know about it, I should definitely tell them. Even if I act unreasonable in a video, they should know whether that's something they should do or not. So in a litigation case, if that were to be called into question, a court would also review the intellectual capacity of the injured viewer. And if they are a 37-year-old male, he probably shouldn't do something that he knows is going to hurt him. So in that case, then either we would be both liable, me for giving the advice, him for following it, or they just say, hey, like, you're an idiot, you shouldn't have done that. And then I would be released from any issues there. Kind of going along with the previous statement about the disclaimer, so the professionals in their field are held to a higher standard of duty of care. So a doctor talking about medical information would definitely be held to a higher standard than me talking about something I found online, or maybe did something by myself and found that it worked well, and I was just giving my opinion of what I had experienced in a medical type thing. So definitely any type of real professional in their field would be held at a higher standard than what I would be held at. Okay, so these next two slides are kind of hand in hand, factual cause and proximate cause. So the example that I've been going with, where saying maybe I forgot to tell something about where it's possible somebody could get injured, that lack of duty of due care would be considered a factual cause if somebody actually got hurt. I didn't physically punch anybody, I didn't physically hurt them, but following my direction and due to my lack of warning them could potentially be a factual cause for injury, but I did not physically or directly hurt them myself. And I did look, I noted here that videomaker.com does say that if I were to do my due diligence in researching the topic prior to taking a video, that would be enough of due diligence to clear me a factual cause. I didn't know that maybe I gave out false information. If I did my darndest to get the correct information and something just happened to not be right, it's not for lack of trying. So if I were to know that I was giving out incorrect data and that were to actually result directly in a injury, then that could be factual cause. So going on to the second slide here, proximate cause. So proximate cause usually has to do with people in your proximate area. Kind of hard when they're online. So that one's more than likely not going to hold up in a litigation and kind of makes your entire case fall apart, in addition to anything else that was already unstable. So since I physically I can't damage anybody, I can't hurt them from the other side of the internet, makes it very difficult for this one to be caused, or for it to be found as a proximate cause. All right, so last but not least, damages. So even if every single other thing was found true, if I did have a duty of due care, I did breach my duty of due care, there were proximate cause, there was factual cause, if there was no actual injury or damage done, you have no case. So you have to have all 5 in order for a case to follow through with litigation. Without any of them, you don't really have much of a case. Okay, summary. So I way overreacted. I was so scared about negligence tort when I got to thinking like, oh my God, what if somebody got hurt? But really, after reviewing that all 5 elements need to be there in order for a case to really be stable, and reviewing what each of the 5 elements needs to be be there, I don't think it's very likely that I could be sued under negligence tort. So my anxiety is way down. And just in case, if there is any type of question on that, or if anybody's thinking, oh, well, she might be a doctor and giving medical advice, so therefore she's correct, or that we can absolutely follow her without a doubt, we are going to make it a standard practice to put that disclaimer into every single video, just in case. We did read in the book that this doesn't always work, but it is clear, and it's going to do our darndest to help. It's going to help no matter what, whether or not they actually hold it up in court, but at least we tried. So all my hours of research on this, I ended up not using a lot of the information that I found on various websites, but I did keep the information found on these. A lot of them are from the IRS official website. We also have TurboTax as to, I was kind of curious at one point with the sale of products, would they be taxable? Would they not be taxable? Like, how does that all work? I didn't know. So I did include that link because it was very interesting to me, and hopefully it will be to you if you decide to check that out. Also, there is a link, it's one of the IRS ones, about who qualifies for a 501c3 and how you go about applying for that to get tax exempt status for a not-for-profit organization. Great stuff. It's a whole video and very, very entertaining Legal the Eagle character there. So highly recommend you check that out. Well, and that ends our video. Thank you for spending your time. This is Casey Hastings, Corporate Country Girl. This is the Business Law Winter 2021 quarter coming to an end. Have a great day.